So I got behind, a few years ago, I got behind a man named Maxime Bernier. He left the Conservative Party because they were too immoral and done in to be reformed from the inside. He realized, as just a true truth teller, he is a man of faith. He is a man who believes that what is right should be right and that we should shout it from the hilltops, and we should stand for powerful truths in our nation. And the others, Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre, they're just two birds of a feather that try to pretend that they're not the same. So there's a problem there. So I want to highlight Mr. Maxime Bernier, and this morning I was able to have a little chat with him. Here it is. Maxime Bernier, it's so good to see you. Thank you very much. I've already explained to the audience that to me, I always told you when I ran for your party that you were the Trump of Canada. And it's grown in popularity here because people are seeing what Trump is doing, out of the box, not doing politics in the normal way. And that is always what you've done.
Yes, absolutely. When I'm looking at what President Trump is doing in the US, is actually doing what I said a couple of years ago. For example, just about, get rid of the DEI, that radical philosophy, radical ideology. That's the position of our party, promote Western civilization ideas and values and not that woke ideology. I'm the only one here in Canada who are, fighting for that family, faith, values. But Trump is doing that in the US, and that's great.
It really is. I said that about you because you've been all over, for instance, this stuff. So we have a new leader. For our U.S. audience, it's important to understand that, Trump right now, he wants us to become a state, but we're fighting for, having a good leader coming up here. And I don't know, we don't have good options. We've got this guy, Mark Carney, and you've said some things about him. He's liberal. He's just like Joe Biden on steroids, except that he's not napping all the time. But then there's Pierre Poilievre, and Pierre Poilievre is the leader. This would be like the Conservative Party, like the Republican Party in the U.S. But Pierre Poilievre is just nothing but liberal light. He's like a Democrat that's a little bit more conservative.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right, Laura-Lynn. And Mark Carney, the new leader of the Liberal Party, and now our Prime Minister, we may have an election in a couple of days. If not, it will be before October 2025, this October. That being said, Carney is I call him, the globalist in chief. He is 100% with the UN agenda, the UN climate change. And Poilievre, on climate change, they have the same policies, Poilievre and him. So that's why, the liberal and conservative are, the same party on big issues that are so important for the future of our country. Poilievre, is a conservative, and here in Canada, the conservative are conservative in name only, like the Reno in the US, Republican in name only. So Trump, what he's doing, it's a revolution, the beginning of a revolution in US, in Europe, and here in Canada. And, the common sense will prevail, and we will be able to win that battle of ideas, us in Canada. And Trump is doing that, cultural war in the US that is so important. And I want to do the same here in Canada.
Yes, and 17 hours ago, you were posting about on this share that I have, like Mark Carney and all the green zealots, Pierre believes that CO2, that CO2 is pollution and that we need to reduce it. You have been all over this for so long, just like Trump. Like CO2 is part of, what we need as human beings actually to survive. And they are trying to make a money-making scheme. And our conservative leader is so inept. He doesn't even understand that. And so Pierre Poilievre tries to distance himself in a way from Trump, because people are actually trying to say, oh, like, be like Trump. But he doesn't want that, because, I mean, he's woke himself.
Absolutely. And Polyev, is doing that trade war against the President Trump. We started that war by imposing 25% tariffs, but actually we are hurting Canadians and us, that's Canadians consumers who are paying these tariffs, the 25% new tax that the federal government is doing that, and Polyev, the leader of the opposition, is okay with that. So, I don't like that trade war, but anyway, what we must do, we cannot win a trade war with the US. They're 10 times bigger than us. What we must do is just to take the phone, speak with President Trump, and telling him, you want to reopen the free trade agreement that we have with you and Mexico. It's supposed to be reopened in 2026. So let's do that right now and put everything on the table. And I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to have a good trade deal for the US, for Mexico, and for us. But, our leaders are, out there with imposing tariffs, and that's not the solution. That's hurting us, and that's not hurting so much the American businesses. Let's have a real discussion with President Trump. And I understand that, he wants us to put more money to secure our borders, to put more money to defend ourselves, to reinvest in our own national defense. We are not doing that right now. So that will be good for Canadians if we do that, and that will be good for Americans. Let's have, real common sense policies here in Canada. And that's why I believe we can have a good agreement with President Trump. But for Polyev, like you said, Laura-Lynn, for him, Trump is the enemy. And the enemy, like Carney, is saying the same thing. Trump is a bad guy and we must fight Trump. No, we just have to sit at the same table and having a good discussion. And maybe we can have a deeper relationship with our defense altogether, both countries. We can have a real free trade agreement. And let's do that. But our leaders in Canada, they're ready for that trade war, and it's hurting us economically.
Maxime, for my U.S. friends that are watching, in order to understand what a sacrifice you have made, you were with the Conservative Party. So you were like, you had it would be equal to being, a senator or what, a representative in the Republican Party. So in Canada, you were like in the Conservative Party, which is like the Republican Party, but you decided that they're so corrupt that you can't even change it from within. And you gave up your position in order to start the People's Party of Canada because you believed we had to have a new way. You were the only one that was talking about, the carbon factor. You were talking about against woke policies. You were very up on how you dealt with COVID, the same as Mr. Trump. You were very aware of all of these things. You wanted a secure border. You want these things that are exactly the same, but you had to leave the Conservative Party in order to do something different because Poilievre's not going to do anything different. And I have your party platform here, the PPC, People's Party of Canada. You are so bold. Like, for instance, in Canada, we have no laws about abortion. A woman can abort her baby up to the birth canal, literally. And in Canada, we have no laws about that. But you are one of the few that dares to stand up for what is right. Here's your diversity, equity, and inclusion, ending discrimination and restoring equal rights for all. And you talk about this, but you bring it to the point where it's actually logical. It's not their DEI. It's about supporting people, but not from this wokeness that we've been dealing with.
Absolutely. We must promote unity over diversity. We must promote equality of rights over equity. and we must promote meritocracy over inclusion. That's what President Trump is doing in the US. And you're right, I try to change the Conservative Party for them to be a real Conservative Party. I was not successful, but President Trump in the US was successful because now the Republican Party is a new Republican Party under President Trump. And for us in Canada, that change did not happen with the Conservative Party of Canada. They are woke. They are like the Liberals. They are, globalist. They believe in mass immigration. And, I'm the only one who's speaking like Trump here in Canada to, have a deportation of our illegals, to have a moratorium on immigration, a pause on immigration, because the mass immigration is hurting our country, our social fabric, our economy. But the conservative and the liberals, they're okay with mass immigration. And so there's a huge differences between us and Polyev and the liberals. So I hope that's why we needed to create the People's Party in 2018. And that's why, we are ready for that populist revolution in Canada that may happen at this election in a couple of days, or at least before October 2025, this October.
So explain that to us. In a couple of days, we might be getting an election. In the U.S., it's every 4 years, same day. You just you don't have this ability. But in Canada, it's kind of like, well, when all the leaders feel like we're going to have a new election, we kind of have one, within the 4 years. So do you think we might be facing that pretty quick?
Yes, because of our parliamentary system. We are not a republic, but a parliamentary system like in UK. The prime minister can call an election at any time and coronate a new prime minister. Doesn't have any legitimacy, is not elected, he doesn't have any seat in parliament. So for him, that will be the best to call the election as soon as possible. And, it may be called this weekend. If not, maybe Carney will be able to have a deal with the opposition and stay in power until, the date of October 2025. So I don't know, but, the odds are more in a favor of a fast and quick election starting maybe next week. Anyway, the People's Party will be ready. We will have a candidate in every riding across the country. And that election would be an important one for the future of our country and for the People's Party.
It really will. Before I let you go, Maxime, I mean, Canada's in so much trouble. We don't have a Trump running the country. We have this Mark Carney just suddenly, somehow he gets to be the prime minister, Justin Trudeau and them just pull a fast one. And all of a sudden we wake up the next day, we have a new prime minister. This is how we're doing things. It's so crazy. But our country's a disaster. Like our dollar, Maxime, is so bad. It's almost like some days it's like 40, $1.40 to the American dollar. And this is concerning. What can we do about that?
Yeah, we need to have a government that will prioritize, balancing the budget, cutting the spending, lowering taxes, and we can do that in 1 year. We still have a huge deficit, but if you're serious about that, you can do it. We must say also to the Bank of Canada that is creating inflation, and to stop that with a 0% inflation target, and having policies that will be pro-growth and pro-free markets. If you do that, our economy will be stronger, and if our economy is stronger, our dollar will be stronger also. Now it's very expensive if you travel with the Canadian dollars. If you're going to US or to Europe, it's sad because the weakness of our dollar is showing us the weakness of our economy. So to have a strong dollar, we need to be sure to have a more productive economy. And to do that, you need to cut taxes, balancing the budget. And, we need to have a Dodge department in Canada, like
yes.
what
Elon Musk.
Elon is doing in the US. And I said that we must have, a department of downsizing the federal government. So let's work hard on that. And if you do that, we'll have a more prosperous country. and our standard of living will go up instead of going down right now.
Max, I'm curious. Should we, when you're prime minister, should we get Elon Musk to give us a hand as well? Or you'll probably do some pretty good axing of waste, because you've been talking about waste for years. Like, we totally waste our money. We send money into all parts of the world, while in Canada we're not doing well. And we help with crazy stuff like gender stuff, or, abortions, paying for people's abortions in Africa. I mean, Canada's been doing all of this same kind of thing. And you've been saying we've got a big problem. Like, we're not even taking care of Canadians.
Absolutely. $8 billion that we are giving to foreign aid. A lot of that is going to promote woke ideology, crazy, gender studies and things like that. We need to end that and bring back that money here home in Canada to help Canadian first. And yes, our party is to put Canadian first and our country first, and fighting for the sovereignty of our country, exactly like Trump is doing in the US. You like it or not, but he's fighting for America and Americans first. And we are doing the same, we the People's Party here in Canada.
Thank you so much, Maxime Bernier. I'm on your side. You're the one that I'm voting for. My whole family is voting for you, and we love you. Thank you for standing up for Canadians. And hey, whether we become another state or not, we'll talk about that next time. God bless you, Maxime Bernier.
Thank you, Laura-Lynn. Thank you very much.
Well, that was great to see my friend Maxime Bernier, and whether we have a upcoming election very soon or not, I do highly recommend the People's Party of Canada. He has been ahead of the pack all the way. And I know that if Maxime Bernier and Donald Trump got in the same room, they would have the same message. They are trying to lead the country out of all the nonsense and into something that makes the countries great. And so this will be fascinating to see how this comes about.